Hello, people of the internet, and welcome. My name is Daniel K. Hargrove, also known as Daniel the DM, and on this week's episode of Gather Your Allies, we have our first ever return guest with VJ Harris. They are an absolutely incredible ttrpg content creator and game designer, and most importantly, someone I get to call a friend. And I'm super excited that we got to sit down and speak to them about the process of creating and now launching the backer kit for their new ttrpg On Call. It's a mix of dispatch and werewolves. It's super fun. It's super fun, and I'm going to let them explain it more in detail. But if you like the way that this game sounds, you can watch it be played on their YouTube channel, which will be linked down below in the doobly-doo, along with the link to their backer kit. Support this game, get it made, get all the bells and whistles and all the extra accoutrements that go along with it. It is going to be an absolutely amazing investment that is well worth your time. So go support. And speaking of support, this show could not be possible without the support of viewers like you over at patreon.com/Daniel K. Hargrove. Thank you to everyone who supports the show. It really does mean a lot. It helps keep the lights on. And over there, you pay whatever you like and whatever you can afford or whatever you think the content is worth. It is perfectly fine. Everyone gets the same content. So again, thank you so much for all the support and enjoy the episode. VJ, thank you for joining me yet again here on Gather Your Allies. This makes you my first ever repeat guest. So welcome. Welcome back, and specifically welcoming you back for us to do a developer spotlight because you are a game developer here in the TTRPG space and have a mountain of work behind you. And we're here to talk about the future and what you have been working on. Last we spoke was around the time that Draw Steel came out and Daggerheart around that same time. So, I mean, just a little bit since then, how have you been and what have you been working on since we have last spoken to one another?
Yeah, first off, Daniel, thank you so much for having me back. I'm so happy to be the first, second.
The first second guest.
Exactly. I love trailblazing, you know? So I've been working on a lot of Daggerheart stuff. I'm still trying to feel my way around Draw Steel because I really want to design things, but I've
Mm-hmm.
run more Daggerheart than Draw Steel at this point. So I'm
Yeah.
really working on just off the math for Draw Steel right now versus personal experience. Um, but the most important thing that I've been working on, or I worked on in the past month since the last time we saw each other, is On Call. Hey folks, don't ever make a game and set up a backer kit in 1 month. Don't do both unless like your life depends on it. Because I did that, and after all that was done and whatnot, I think I slept for like 15 hours or
Right.
something.
So, and On Call is the new game you have written. It is now available to back on Backer Kit.
Mhm.
So, work me through that process of where this inspiration came from, because there's currently a bunch of TTRPGs out now. You have worked on amazing stuff prior with MCDM and worked on your own independent stuff prior. So, what is it that was striking you with inspiration now when there's so many other systems that you've been working in?
Right. So this actually has a little bit of a backstory. So when I was in high school, I had this idea for a book called The Regent's Daughter, like an actual book, because I started off as a creative writer and stuff and didn't start game design till like later in life, as it were. And it was set in a world where magic and all those people were real. The world knew about it, and each continent had like for this specific thing, a woman who was leading the magical community. And I always wanted to expand from that and whatnot. And it'd been on my mind for a long time of like, hey, so right now I can't like make a graphic novel of this, or I don't really want to write it, but I can make a game that's in the universe. And
Yeah.
that's how Hunt RPG came to be, and that like exists, and it's part of the backer kit too. You can get that like bundled in there together. And then I had an idea about werewolves because I love werewolves, and Dylan, I can't remember if Dylan's been on the show or not, but my buddy Dylan, Super Dylan, as you might know them, had a birthday jam, and I made a little werewolf game for them. And then I was like, man, I gotta go back to this. And then Dispatch
Mhm.
came out recently, and I was like, I've had this werewolf dispatching idea for ages. Here's the game. I gotta do it now. I gotta.
That alone should be enough to sell people on this TTRPG. It's dispatch, but with werewolves. But I mean, getting a little bit more into the game, explain what the setup is and some of the basic functions going into it.
Yeah, of course. So, first off, it's set in the revealed universe, which is the same universe that that book I wanted to write is set in. And essentially, since 2015, there's been the DMEO, which is the Department of Magical Entities and Occurrences. And, magical and supernatural creatures have existed, and there's treaties and acts that involve them, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the actual core of the game is your werewolves who can't shift during the full moon phase, the day before, the day of, and the day after, because your fellow werewolves are actually going to be the ones shifting. And if anything goes wrong with
Mm,
them, their family members, or the town involving werewolves, you and a handful of others are responsible for actually addressing it. And so it's a really easy system. It's 2d6. You've got six stats. You're able to give like advantage to your partner, or you can get like add two dice to that whole pool instead of just uh, four instead of two, and it's really intuitive. I think I ran it for like a couple of people recently, and like prior to this, when I was doing the development part of it, I sent it off to some friends who have been like, yeah, no, it's like a really easy thing to work through. Like
yeah,
you could if your friends have never played a TTRPG before, you could put this in front of them. You could make characters really quickly and be like an hour and a half, 2 hours in, you could have gotten through two or three scenarios and been like, okay, this is the game.
yeah. What when you're going through the design process, I've always wondered, how do you end up choosing the dice? Like, obviously, there's so many to pick from, but
Mhm.
how do you, from a design perspective, and I'm sure there's many iterations you have to go through, but
Mhm.
how do you decide upon that these dice will be the perfect way to convey the stories that we want to
Mhm.
tell?
Mhm. So I have played a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games,
Mm,
and excuse me, I'm currently like the designer for Zyru, the Pan-African setting, and it's like Powered by the Apocalypse base, so we're using 2d6. And because
yeah.
I've played it so much, I'm like, okay, I have a good foundation for 2d6 games, and I know like how well they can work, especially with keeping things really simple, because most people are gonna have d6s in their house, whether it's like because they'll sell the like in the
Little
big
domino
case.
dice and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of
yeah, yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. More than likely you'll have D6s versus having a D4, D6, 8, 10, 12, like the whole nine
Hmm.
yards. So it's like as simple as possible. So the majority of people don't have to like buy a lot of dice or anything like that. Can just go pick up a case, be like, okay, cool, I'm done.
Got it. Um, and so you went through and you wanted to make this as simple and engaging as possible. So where do you feel the flex comes in with more the role playing aspects, getting into like the character creation and the scenarios?
Yeah, no, I'm obviously I'm excited for all of that part. And like just to talk about the ability. So you have your
Mm,
physical abilities, which are strength and reflex, and then you have your mental abilities, which are instinct, charisma, intelligence, and then you have technically another physical ability kind of, and that's called control. And control is actually where I'm like very excited for the designing the character part because so essentially how control works is that is when you're playing the game, you have two ways to get like additional dice in the pool. One is a helping hand, which means if you're playing it with another person, they can help you out with that, right? They can be like, "Hey, I'm not going to make a roll. Instead, I'm going to help you make this roll." And you add a d6 and you pick the two highest out of the three. The other one is tapping into your wolf. So essentially, it's the full moon. Your body is like you can feel the full moon wanting you to shift. You're strong enough to not shift, but if you do shift, you can't come back from that because it's like it's you're fighting against your nature. You're supposed to be shifted right now. So essentially, you can tap into your wolf, which heightens your abilities more than they already were from being a werewolf, and it lets you roll 46 and you pick the highest two. However, if you fail the like control roll after that, the game's over because if you shift during your shift, you've lost at that point. And the thing about control is it's a number you get to pick between 1, 2, and 3. The other stats have an array, so it's -2, -3, 0, +2, +3. But the reason that this has a 1, 2, and 3 is because one, it functions as like your health. Right. So some scenarios, depending on what you do, you can take damage. The other thing that it functions as, at this point at least, when I play tested it, someone had a really good idea about something that I might implement. But at this point, a 1, a 2, and a 3 is essentially deciding how strong are you as a wolf? How much control can you have? Right now, if you have a 1 for your wolf, it's you have a hard time not shifting when you like tap into your stuff. And if you have a 3, you're more powerful and can hold that form. And so essentially, when you do tapping into your wolf, after that, you roll 2d6 plus your control number, which if you've gotten hurt, it gets lower, right? Because you've been injured. The wolf wants to come out and help you heal. And typically when you're designing stuff like that and there's a penalty to it, you'll either want to like have the DC for it get higher as you go or have a penalty to it. In this game, you have both because it's really meant to show like, hey, it is unnatural for you to not be
Yeah,
shifting right now during the full moon. Like,
right.
yeah, so it's harder and harder on both ends as you continue to do it.
That's incredible. And so, what were some of the experiences you saw players had when you were doing the playtesting experience and began to push the system further and further into its final form? Like, what were some of the interesting things that you found in players' behavior in dealing with these scenarios?
So, first from the mechanics point, because I had two of my friends who I frequently use as guinea pigs for stuff,
Mm-hmm.
actually helped me play through it because like it's the bones are still there, but like I said, there you have a stat array, but originally I was like, oh yeah, you can like throw this around. Here's like a -1, -2, -3, or you can roll your stats the whole 9 yards, and then we had real high Jesus. Sorry, folks. And then we had really high swings and really high lows, and it was like, okay. And one of the things is like I have to make sure that I'm not so like in love with with an ability that that I refuse to let it go because for a little while it was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, maybe we can try and rework it. I want to keep this. It was like, no, 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 no. So we just went with the five stats, the minus and the bonus and the 0 in there. But as far as actually playing it, the first time after we had solidified in the first play test, like, okay, this is how we're doing stat arrays. This is fine. The thing that I put them up against is so each scenario has a scenario score, which means that you'll have a physical one. So if you decide to attack or you're evading anything, you have to meet that physical score to succeed on whatever you're doing. And then you have a mental one. So if you're using charisma, instinct, or intelligence, you have to succeed on that score. And I put them up against the hardest scenario. There's a scenario that is 13 on mental and 13 on physical, and it is called Bounty Hunter. In the universe with the DMEO, they have agents and they have licensed bounty hunters. And
Mm-hmm.
as a part of like I think I named it the like magical entities act of something or other. I can't remember the exact name. When you like, at least for the werewolves, definitely you can be like, hey, as part of the magical treaty, I'm requesting help from your pack, and it doesn't have to be the entire pack. Like it could be like stronger wolves, etc., etc. And Nestor LaPierre shows up and asks the players, hey, I'm here for Charlie Owens, which is one of your pack members, and I
Mm-hmm.
need you to help me do that. Those players in the first thing were like, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. We're going to either lie to you, we're going to lie to you, actually.
Yeah.
And then, and then and like, they didn't lie properly, but then another player realized they lied. And then another player, the other one was like, okay, well, I'm going to attack this person. And obviously it didn't go super well because this is the strongest, like, one. Like, the other
Mm-hmm.
ones are like no or aren't in the 13 range. Like this is meant to be like, hey, bounty hunters are no joke, legitimate
Mm-hmm.
ones. And so they tried to kill this guy and he's a legit bounty hunter. He's not one of those ones that are here because I like the bloodshed. I like hunting mystical creatures. Like, hey, I'm good at my job. I'm gonna help do this.
I'm
So
putting in the hours.
yeah, like even though they attacked him, he was like, look, you have a couple of options here still, okay? I'm
Mm.
not here to kill people, but if you keep pressing me, I will shoot you.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I can't quite remember if they decided to fight this guy or not, but we might have ended the playtest there because I didn't want to keep them super long.
Yeah.
But it was that one was particularly fun. But then I ran another one semi recently to like for some content and stuff and the playtesting still. And instead of I gave them Lester again or Nestor again.
Mm,
However, they decided, okay, we're gonna help them go get Charlie instead. Um, and so most scenarios, or almost all scenarios except for this one, only have one scenario score. But because you're helping Nestor find Charlie, you have the second scenario score, which is like
mm,
eight physical, eight mental. So a lot easier to actually hit those scores versus Nestor. And I was a little worried that they were gonna get to Charlie and then help Charlie like kill Nestor. And I was like, I don't think that's gonna go well for you guys. And this is the first scenario I did with them. It's like if you in my head I'm like if they do this game is over here because they're gonna die or they'll turn into wolves and like run off to heal themselves. Like you don't actually die
yeah.
in this game at any point. You shift because you've taken a bunch of damage.
Got
Um,
it.
but that's not what happened. They were very much like, yeah, no,
The
it's the
gun ho, they're
law.
sticking to.
Like, it's the law, I guess. But they were also willing to fight Nestor if that's what Charlie wanted to do.
Yeah. But so with the how many scenarios do you have total? Are we looking at the backer kit? And do you
Yeah.
also have an option for teaching the storyteller or the game master to be able to create their own scenarios as well?
So right now there's seven scenarios. Oh, wait, is that right? Three, four. Yes, there are seven scenarios. Um, I did. I'm such a silly guy. When I was making the game, I was focusing on getting all of these things done, and then I hadn't actually factored in teaching them how to make a scenario. Now there is a section that's like the anatomy of a scenario, which I think can function as like showing you how this stuff kind of works, but it is not an explicit. So you want to make your own scenarios, but I think that will like I think what'll happen is I'll send it out to people and be like, hey, with the anatomy of a scenario, if you are the GM, does this do what it needs to do to have you understand how to play or how to make this stuff? If not, we'll add that section in. It'll probably get added in anyway, but just want to see if what I have in there right now already covers it or not. It might not. So either it does or we'll add something in there later.
Okay, gotcha. Um, with creating all this, I mean, I always wondered as a game designer, is there any way that you feel like you put like your own signature or flair into the games that you design?
Uh, man. So for the ones that are like kind of set in this universe, because there's The Gift, which was
Mm,
Dylan's birthday present. There's Hunt RPG, which was also a part of another jam, Fari Games, but it's still in this world. And then this one as well. I think it's very much the like storytelling aspect of it. Because like I
mm,
said, I started off as a creative, like a creative writing person.
yeah.
I got one of my majors was essentially in that as well. And so I think the bit that I put in there is the storytelling part because that's me at my core. Even though I've majorly just worked on mechanics and like fluff is not my favorite thing to do, at least for fantasy stuff and whatnot, the creative writing part for like urban and modern fantasy is who I've always been as a person since I was a kid. So definitely the like darker scenarios in there. Like there's one really cute one where it's like there's three toddlers. They have they've gotten werewolf powers. Like they haven't shifted, but way sooner than they should. Like they've got the claws and the agility and stuff, and one of them's like climbing on the walls. Like that one's really cute, but
Yeah.
for the like the Charlie Owens ones and just like a trigger warning talking about abusive exes. It's not in
Mm,
the you don't actually ever see it in the scenario. Like it's not actually but the backstory for that why the bounty hunter wants them is like they've been in the pack for 5 years and prior to that they were in an abusive relationship and like in a highly stressful dangerous situation with the ex they shifted into their wolf makes sense they killed the
mhm,
person and like while the human brain is mostly still there, there's also the like wolf brain in there as well. And so there was like some mauling and stuff. And then they ran off, right?
mm,
Understandably, like that happens when, abuse victims sometimes kill their abusers and then they leave. Um, and so there's a lot of darker things in there as well. And like clear safety guidelines as well, and be like, hey, here's some like there's some of these that you can change because it's not the core to the story, but some of these are just like explicitly this is a part of that, and very much like if the things you can't change are you just can't do it, that's fine. Not every game's for everybody, but thanks for checking it out. So that darker
Yeah.
aspect of things when it's in there is very much like my own flair.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I've always wondered that, especially when, a lot of having to working within certain systems of like, okay, if I have to create monsters for, whether it's D&D or Daggerheart or Pathfinder, you have the tradition of what people expect. And so I guess I'm always interested, especially in how developers are able to find their own flair with working within those confines, but also when in a scenario like this, the confines are taken off and it's just your
Hmm.
imagination being able to let shine where you get to sprinkle those things. It's always
Hmm.
incredible and interesting to engage with. Um, I have to know top werewolves. What are the top three werewolves of all time? Who? I feel
Okay,
like this is an important question for
okay.
something to be so
First off,
heavily centered around the werewolves.
Van Helsing's werewolves. The like lit. Oh my God, they're so. The first time, I mean, you're talking about top media, or are you asking about in the game?
Yeah, we can go both. We can
Okay,
we can go
okay.
both. Their favorite, the werewolves that inspired the werewolves for your game, but also just your favorite personal favorite werewolves out there. Give it all.
So actually, I think it's like a very clear like it's a mixture because on the one
Mm,
hand, there is for anybody that doesn't know, Van Helsing's werewolf, the transformation, the actual body of it. The first time I saw it, I was like, "Holy shit!"
yeah.
It was so good. And like I'd seen other werewolf movies, I'd seen Ginger Snaps, which I also like that transformation in the more bestial kind of like down on fours, and there's like
Hmm.
and so Van Helsing, Ginger Snaps. What's the final one? Ooh, well, actually, I'll make this an honorable mention as I think about the third one. I think the Underworld series, like the vampires are mostly good in there. They're not enough to be in the top three, but I'll put them in like fourth place. And ooh, what is the third one here? I love oh, and just because it's a classic, an American Vampire in London, I think I'm
Yeah.
remembering the name correctly. Like, of course, I got to give it that. Oh, and I think Teen Wolf's like actual like the shifting and stuff is pretty legit, but is not in the top three. And I think, and like the game, there's no clear descriptions on what your werewolf looks like, right? If you are
Hmm.
more the like stand up one twos or like you're running on all fours, there is like the unquestionable like, oh hey, the wolves are like 5 feet tall. Like it's kind of varied on your height. Like there's like if you're 5'3", your wolf's gonna be like 5 feet. If you're 6'1", your wolf's gonna be like 6 feet. And then there's fur.
Hmm.
But outside of that, there's no like they're on all fours or they're like on, and their arms are like whatever.
Right.
It's really up for you to decide at that point.
Getting you to draw from your inspirations. Exactly.
Exactly.
I love that. Um, with the system being out on backer kit, tell the folks what they get for backing this project right now.
Okay, okay, gang. I should have pulled this up, but I'm gonna pull it up so I know so you know exactly what I'm saying to you. Okay, so there's a couple of things right now. Okay, so we're gonna go to back it. So the first thing you can just do $1, and it gives you access to the pledge manager later, so you can get the like $10 option. I'm pretty sure the like when I put it up on itch, it'll be $15 for people. And that'll also like include the layout when it's updated, right? So you'll get the updated version as well. The $10 one gets you the on-call PDF. Now there's a revealed universe bundle, which is $30, and right now the only way to get the gift and Hunt RPG is through this bundle, and Hunt RPG is going to go through a massive rework, and you and everybody will get access to the rework, and the gift's getting a little bit of an update as well. That's $30, and then there is a $60 one, which includes the PDF, the On-Call Universe bundle, and I'll run the game of On-Call for just you. Like this is the one player option. And then there's a $90 one, which is everything the $60 has, but I will run it for two of your friends. There's only one left for each of those. I put three for both because I was like, okay, I can handle 6 games of this. Anything more, and I might like be a little overwhelmed. But that's kind of what you get in that right now.
Amazing. What are you doing, guys? For one buckarino already, you can join in and support an indie ttrpg developer. Is there anything else you would like to say about On Call or just any of your other projects that you've been working on in general?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the last thing I'm going to say about On Call is that, like I said, if you liked Werewolves, if you like the dispatching aspect of it, and you don't mind, and you enjoy like darker themes and like figuring out ways to handle that, and having like multiple options, because the game does have suggested options on how to handle it, but it's just that suggestions. If the players do something else, it's like, hey, let them do things that make sense. You're gonna have like very full autonomy to do what you want, including pitching to the GM, like, hey. I think this should be an intelligence roll instead of a strength roll. And then like if you make a good argument, it's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like that happened in the second playtest that I did. There was a couple of like there was a role that I thought would have been charisma, but then the player was like, hey,
Mm,
actually, can it be intelligence? Because I'm really like reasoning this out versus trying to like persuade them. I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. Like there is a lot of freedom in the system. I think especially because it has like just six stats and they're very like they can be very open-ended for you.
yeah.
And on the note of other things that I'm working on, um, ooh, I will say I haven't started working on this, but the Hunt RPG like revamp, which you get, like I said, access to, is very much wriggling its into my mind. Because I'd made some notes about it ages ago and then was like, okay, it's 2026. I need to put this on my like New Year's resolutions. And there's a couple of different vampires in that system, and then in this universe as well. There's ones that like shift and might not be able to shift back into like bestial like kind of form that resemble werewolves, which does cause them some problems sometimes.
Mm,
There's one that like eats like not just blood, but like the entire body as well. There's one that is very much like, oh yes, they can pretty much eat anything if they cook it well enough in blood, but they typically prefer like various organs for a person, and those are going to have like different stats to them because originally in the game you can only be like a standard vampire, but I was like, no, 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 no. We can like expand that. We can let different things happen and probably the Hunt RPG is a solo game, but I'm definitely gonna like also expand it into like, oh hey, here's the multiplayer version of it as well. And oh, last but not least, which is not in the universe at all, um, gay sad cowboys. Um,
what
it
what more iconic phrasing
right.
could there possibly be?
The game's called Fleeting Moments, and the tagline is "There's no happy endings, only fleeting moments." And unfortunately, homophobia real in this game. You're in the
Yeah.
Wild West. You can be like a human or a werewolf or any like magical. It's like Weird West.
Hmm.
And at the end of the game, you get to decide how you never get to see your partner or partners again because you can have multiple players. Either one of you dies, society gets in the way, and you're just like, hey, we're gonna go do the heterosexual thing, or somebody gets sick and eventually you don't get to see each other anymore for whatever reason. And me and my buddy, Diana, which some of you might know on TikTok as Sapphic Stregonona, started making the game and then like re-picking it back up this year. And that is on the to-do list of like, hey, this is at least the draft is getting done this year and people are going to get to check it out.
Absolutely incredible. It sounds like it's going to be the spawning of a bunch of heartbreaking actual plays. But to keep up on the progress of these projects and to celebrate along with you with this backer kit, where can the people go to follow updates on not only your projects that you're working on, but keeping up with your content in general?
Yeah, so hey folks, I'm everywhere as VJH Creations. The places that I post the most are TikTok and YouTube, and on YouTube you'll get some longer form stuff. You'll also get that on TikTok as long as it's under an hour since we can post that on there, but that's not the main place that you want to find that, right? I'm on Instagram and I'm starting to post some more stuff on there, but typically whatever you find on Instagram, you'll find on TikTok as well. And Blue Sky, Twitter, ugh, just technically there. Don't talk to me on there, please. You can go on Blue Sky if you want to have a conversation with me. But yeah, that's where you can like follow me and all my like the stuff I'm gonna be doing. I have a lot of plans for this year, and I'm already going through them really nicely, I think. And I love talking to people, so like, don't think you can't be like, hey VJ. I will talk to you. I will yap at you, actually.
For sure. VJ, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for being another guest again. And I can't wait to have you back. Until next time, everyone, take care.
Bye.